The moment the process server slid that envelope across Dan's fancy glass desk, I knew he was finally realizing just how screwed he was. I was parked across the street, watching through the window. Yeah, maybe a little petty, but after everything he pulled, I wanted to see his reaction. Let me back up. I've been an accountant for over 30 years. Not flashy, not some startup bro, honestly, I'm not even good at office politics. But I love solving problems and spotting patterns other people miss. 3 years ago, I started piecing together something that could actually help the small businesses I work with, an easier way to automate expense reporting, bookkeeping, and tax prep. This was more than a spreadsheet trick, it was a whole system, a brand, a toolkit. I called it Easy Ledger. I'm not a coder, but I know my way around spreadsheets, VBA, and QuickBooks hacks. So, after a lot of late nights, I built something that actually worked. My idea was simple: offer it as a toolkit and consulting package to my existing clients. Not a get-rich scheme, just a side gig to make my life, and maybe my retirement, a little easier. For a while, it was just me tinkering, documenting every step. Dan only got involved because my wife's cousin, thanks, Linda, overheard me talking about it at a family cookout. Dan, her business partner, was supposedly some marketing genius who'd scaled startups to 6 figures. Turns out, his big claim to fame was selling phone cases on Etsy. Still, he acted pumped at our first meeting, tossing around words like synergy and disruption. I wasn't born yesterday, so I made it clear: my system, my clients. If he could help promote it, I'd split the profits 60/40, with me taking the bigger cut since I actually built the thing. We shook hands in my kitchen. No contract, yeah, I know, dumb, but I'd known Linda's family forever, so it felt safe. For the next 6 months, Dan mostly suggested logo tweaks and threw out buzzwords. I did all the tech and documentation. He kept promising he'd bring in real investors, but all I ever saw was an Instagram page and some Canva mockups. Didn't matter much to me, I picked up a couple new clients, so whatever. Then, out of nowhere, I get this email at 5:17 a.m. one Thursday: thanks for your interest in Easy Ledger Pro. We've launched, sign up today. The sender? Dan's shiny new LLC. He'd bought the domain, posted my workflow videos, the ones I sent him for promo, and straight up copied big chunks of my how-to guide, just slapped his own copyright at the bottom. No mention of me. No link to my contact. He even used my sample data, the fake bakery client I always use for demos. I called him right away, heart pounding. No answer. Texted him, got nothing. Tried Linda, who just said, Dan told me you two had a falling out. I sat there, refreshing his website, watching as he promoted my system on LinkedIn and tagged people we both knew. And here's the gut punch: some of my own clients emailed me links to his launch, asking if I'd joined a new company. One even congratulated me for going tech. I felt sick. I tried to keep it civil. I emailed Dan, CC'd Linda, and asked him to take down my stuff and work out a fair split. His reply: all assets submitted for branding become property of Easy Ledger Pro LLC per our agreement. Best wishes in your future endeavors. There was no agreement. I checked every email, every text. Nothing. Fine. If he wanted to play hardball, so could I. The plan. I'm not a lawyer, but I am an accountant, and I pay attention to details. I started saving everything: emails, timestamps, the files I'd sent, even the Google Docs version history. I dug up my original workflow notes, which had my name and the date embedded in the metadata. I checked the LLC registry. Dan filed it only 3 weeks before his launch. The more I dug, the angrier I got. First step: trademarks. Neither of us had filed for Easy Ledger. There was something similar in the UK, but nothing here. I spent a weekend reading up on the USPTO website, then shelled out $350 to file a trademark for Easy Ledger, in the software and business consulting category, using my old docs as proof I'd used it first. I also grabbed the .net and .org domains. Next up, copyright. I filed claims on the videos and guides Dan posted, using my original files and version history as evidence. YouTube took down his promo video in 2 days. His website lost its explainer. I sent takedown notices to his hosting provider, Google Drive, and LinkedIn, with my copyright registration as backup. Honestly, I figured he'd just rebrand and move on. But about a month later, I got an email from the USPTO, my trademark application was moving forward. Dan had tried to file, too, but because my evidence came first, his was flagged as a duplicate. This part took months, lots of paperwork and back and forth, but I kept sending him my demo files, the sample data, even that bakery spreadsheet I'd used since day one. All this time, I kept it professional, no angry emails, no threats. Just a solid, polite paper trail. Execution. For months after Dan's launch, I got the official trademark certificate in the mail. Not pending, official, with my name and date. I may have framed it for my home office. And I had copyright receipts for all my original work. Now it was time to really push back. I hired a local attorney, Rachel, who was awesome, and we sent a cease and desist to Dan and his LLC, demanding he stop using the Easy Ledger name, take down all my content, and pay a licensing fee for the time he'd already been using it. This time, Dan didn't email me, his lawyer did. Suddenly, the tone was all business. His lawyer argued that joint development gave Dan some rights. But I had date-stamped files, client emails showing me pitching the system before Dan was even in the picture, and zero proof of him contributing anything beyond marketing fluff. It got tense. There were a couple weeks where I honestly thought I might be making a huge mistake. My wife kept telling me to let it go, that it wasn't worth the headache. Maybe she was right, but I couldn't just roll over. Then Rachel called, "He's bluffing. He doesn't want to go to court. Let's push back." So we did. We filed a lawsuit for trademark infringement and copyright violation, with all the evidence attached. We weren't asking for the moon, just that he stop using my name and system, take down my work, and pay damages and legal fees. I worried he'd try to spin it as a misunderstanding or drag things out. But Dan folded fast. I think he realized he didn't have a leg to stand on, no contract, no actual work on the system, and now a paper trail a mile long. He agreed, in writing, to rebrand his entire site, product, and business materials within 30 days. He picked Ledgerese, which honestly sounds like a knockoff. Remove all videos, guides, and docs based on my content, with a big penalty if anything slipped through. Pay me a lump sum, not life-changing, but enough to cover my legal bills and pay for a nice vacation. Send a statement to his mailing list and clients, making it clear he wasn't the creator of the original Easy Ledger system, and that any claims otherwise were miscommunication. Here's the part one liked best: since I owned the trademark, I could keep using my system and name. A couple of his would-be clients, the ones who'd reached out to me, ended up working with me instead after I explained what happened. Aftermath. Dan's business tanked. The rebrand killed his SEO, and all his promo material was useless. Last I checked, Ledgerese was just a dead Facebook page and a broken Squarespace site. He tried pivoting to business development coaching, but I doubt it went anywhere. We haven't talked since. Linda sent me a long Facebook message apologizing and saying she didn't know the whole story. I didn't bother replying. I kept things chill with my clients. Only the ones who asked got the details. A few congratulated me, but most just wanted to know if I could help with their books. I still get anxious thinking about the whole mess. I'm not someone who enjoys confrontation, and there were days I wondered if I was just being stubborn. But honestly, if I'd let it slide, it would have bugged me forever. Now, I keep a copy of the trademark certificate next to my monitor. Maybe it's silly, but after 30 years of watching people get away with shady stuff in business, it feels good to know I finally stood up for myself and didn't just let someone walk all over me. So yeah, Dan, next time you want to pivot, try coming up with your own idea.